So, essential question, how is DNA organized? Chapter 8 is all about DNA. We went through genetics. We went through how traits were passed from generation to generation. Now we are going smaller to back to the cellular level. So everybody should have seen this picture before. Everybody should know just kind of the basic structure of DNA. Looks like the twisted ladder. But chapter 8 is all about DNA. And we start with the structure of DNA. We skip 8.1. There's some background stuff. You guys are doing the Edpuzzle and the background stuff. So, and our key concept for this section, all cells contain DNA as their genetic material. And the structure of DNA is the same in all organisms. So if you look at DNA under a microscope for us and a dog and an elephant, it all has the same structure, the same twisted ladder structure. So DNA is actually an acronym. It stands for something. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Way back in chapter 2, we talked about our 4 main molecules, our 4 macromolecules that we're made of. And we went through carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and that 4th one was nucleic acids. And I told you we would have a whole chapter about it later. Well, now is the time. We are going over our nucleic acids during this chapter. And DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. You also learned in chapter 2 that nucleic acids or the polymers and the monomers, the small links that make up those polymers, for a nucleic acid, they're called nucleotides. So the monomer of all nucleic acids, including DNA, is called a nucleotide. Remember, monomer is the single link and then polymer is the long chain. And each nucleotide has 3 parts: a phosphate group, a sugar, that sugar's name is deoxyribose, and it's where DNA gets its name, and a nitrogen-containing base. There are 4 different nitrogen-containing bases. So the sugar is always deoxyribose. It's always the same. The phosphate is always the same. But the nitrogen-containing base, there's 4 different versions in DNA. 2 of them are called pyrimidines, and they have a single ring structure. So this, in organic chemistry, is called a ring. It's called a carbon ring, actually, and each corner is made of carbon. But they don't show you that in here. But pyrimidines have a single ring structure. And the 2 pyrimidines are called thymine and cytosine, but we abbreviate them to T and C. The other 2 are called purines, and they have a double ring structure. So you can see one ring here, and the other ring is here, and they're just stuck together. And the 2 purines are adenine and guanine, or A and G. Watson and Crick are 2 scientists who eventually discovered the 3D structure of DNA. They had a lot of help, as you'll see in your Edpuzzle this week. But they are credited with the discovery. And the shape of DNA, we call it a double helix. That is the official name of that shape. Yes, it looks like a twisted ladder, but the official science name of that shape is a double helix. So if you're imagining yourself climbing a ladder, The sides, the part you would hold on to, that is called the backbone, and it is made of sugar and phosphate, of the deoxyribose and the phosphate. And they repeat: sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, all the way up. And the steps of the ladder, the part that you would step on in the middle, are the different base pairs: the A, the T, the G, and the C. And they pair in a very specific way. We will talk about that in a minute. Rosalind Franklin. Watson and Crick's work was based on the finding of Rosalind Franklin. Franklin's X-ray image suggests that DNA was a double helix of even width. So this right here is an X-ray of DNA if you are looking down the center of it. So it's that twisted ladder. If you're at the top of a spiral staircase and you're looking down, that's what it looks like. And they measured it, and it was evenly spaced all the way around. Not like my circle. And those are the rungs in the middle, the part that you would step on. Those are the base pairs. And Franklin's X-ray images suggested that DNA was double helix of even width. I already said that. The way they got this picture of Rosalind Franklin's a little shady. But again, that is what your Edpuzzle is about this week. And there's another one if you want to learn more about her. Next week's extra credit, there's a longer documentary about her and her findings. That's one of your choices. You got choices. And then Chargaff's base pairing rules. So the steps of the ladder always, always, always pair in the same way. T always pairs with A, and C always pairs with G. And the best way I've found to remember this is T and A. Those are the straight letters. They're made of straight lines. And then C and G are the curly letters. They're made of the curly letters. So the curly letters stick together, and then the straight letters stick together. And these are called complementary base pairs. Complementary is a word we like to use a lot. They just go together. Peanut butter and jelly goes together. Peanut butter and chocolate are also complementary. They go together. But they are always, always, always paired in this way. Now, that's not to say there's not mutations where all of a sudden one changes, but that causes problems. Just like an extra chromosome causes problems. A mutation in a G, a C, or a T, or an A will cause problems. And we'll talk about that later in the chapter. But Erwin Chargaff is the man that discovered this. So he gets credited with the base pairing rules. All right, and these notes are fairly short this week. So be sure to add your summary at the end. Some of you are forgetting your summaries. Don't remember how to do a summary? There's a link in the directions. Finish this week's work. And then this is the same announcement I went over in the beginning. There is no school next week. Use that time to make up missing work. Check Infinite Campus for your missing work. It'll be marked missing. And then if you are done with all of your work, there will be extra credit Edpuzzles to complete, but they will not open unless you are done. They will close and lock on Sunday, February 22nd. I will show you the extra credits. So February break, there's your extra credit opportunities, and it says right here, your prerequisites are week 5, meaning you have to be done with all of the work for week 5 for this to even open. It will stay locked if you are not. Just like the previous week, the prerequisite is week 4. If you're not done with week 4, week 5 won't open. So You need to be done with all of your work. Directions, choose one. These will only be open over break. The Genetics of Cancer and Secret of Photo 51, these are both documentaries. First one is about cancer, obviously. Photo 51 is about Rosalind Franklin and that picture. Gattaca and Miss Evers Boys are movies. Gattaca has a lot of DNA stuff in it. And then Miss Evers Boys is about ethics, and it's actually a really good movie for Black History Month as well. The African American community has a very tenuous relationship with the medical community, and there are reasons. The Tuskegee syphilis experiment is one reason. That's what this movie's about. And then Punnett Square Fun, just more Punnett Square stuff. So choose one. It is only open over break. Be sure you are done with everything else. But that is all I have for you for this week.